Hello, good afternoon, everyone. A 150 people are here, but not everyone is seated yet. I'm about to start. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nicolaas Heeren. I am one of the two co-managers of the SIDI. I'm also director of the international partnerships at CCFD Terre Solidaire. And I thought about microfinance and how it started in the 1980s in Bangladesh. That's why I am dressed that way today. We attempted to invite Mohamed. You know him. He's not responded. We need more sound, apparently. Turning up the sound. So I am Nicolaas Heeren, one of the co-managers of the CD. I will be here on the stage today, but it's all about my colleagues and the guests today. Welcome everyone, shareholders, institutional members, NGOs, colleagues from Soluti, people I see here who came directly from Uganda with the Centenary Bank. Welcome everyone. Welcome in this magnificent venue to celebrate the CD's 40th anniversary. It's all about developing an investment, 40 years. It's a big occasion. I wanted to celebrate that with you. A little bit of context. We had a little bit of a difficult phase regarding governance. We'll have new members soon, but the CODIR is still managing with me as well. It's not what today is all about, but I just wanted to mention it. During the break, managers, the commandite, the limited partners, will be available to respond to the questions you might have if you want. Now, today it's all about a series of events. Tomorrow we also have a meeting with 20 congregations. We have local meetings. ESD organized that, and the CCFD as well. That's also a week of about solidarity-based finance, and a seminar on Monday and Tuesday with Impulse, with Soluti as well, and all our colleagues to work on a more operational level on the strategic plan. So you've taken a look at the program. We will start with Sylvie Bukhari de Pontual, who is the president of the CCFD Terre Solidaire and also president of the Commission of Consultation at the CD. And then we have two round tables on stage. The first one is about the 40 years of solidarity investment, and the second one is about the sustainable rural branches. Now, a thought for the situation in Palestine. We thought that we needed a specific talk with our Palestine partner. Adnan Farhmand and Samia Barghouti will be here on Teams. Now, after the two round tables, and at the end of this day, we will have criticism, constructive criticism by Frédéric Tiberghien, who will come back on everything that we've said today. And of course, to top it all, we'll have Joe Parrish, who will talk about the 40 years that just came by and an outlook in the future. I'd like to thank the interpreters. You all have access to headphones, and so you can choose French or English. About 50 people are on Zoom, and the interpreting is also available on Zoom. Problem with sound. So that's it for me. I'll give the floor to Sylvie Bukhari de Pontual. Please welcome her warmly to the stage. Good afternoon. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, employees, activists, citizens, and everyone in ESD, institutional shareholders, members of religious congregations, members of governance institution of the SIDI. We celebrate today a beautiful anniversary, 40 years of solidarity internationally for development and investment. And we will take a look at what we've accomplished so far in terms of solidarity-based finance. Let me open with an anecdote. That I was in Uganda. SIDI is an solidarity-based investor created in 1983. And with this mission, and together with our national treasurer and Nicolaas Heeren, we were able to help representatives of Soluti Finances Africa, so the SIDI in Eastern Africa, and their representatives are here with us today in the second row. Thank you very much for being here. Regionally, they refinance MFIs and give microcredits to local populations, often in more disadvantaged areas. They're very close to, and together with their partners, they're very close to local populations, and I could see how important they are. They are able to do things that we as bigger institutions don't do. For example, microcredits, $1, $3, $5 for a day for local farmers, smaller groups of women in markets, in rural farming cooperatives, and smaller enterprises to buy a bit of gas, to pay for the taxi, to go to the market and sell your yield. And they can use those to trade what they produce. I was able to meet many people, and especially one woman who uses these microcredits every day. And thanks to that, she was able to get seeds for her productions and put everything in the trade. And she had a very innovative idea in the rural area where she lives. She mentioned that accessing school is very difficult and costly for children, and she wanted to create a school, a small school for the families around, and so that they could access quality education. It took 15 years, and we came to pay them a visit. It was very successful in the end. Many of the children of the local areas can access, and it is much less expensive compared to national schools. So with a good educational level, over 15 years we're able to look at what the children have accomplished, and many of them are able to go to university and to work in public or private jobs. This is what solidarity-based finance is all about. She changed the world, her environment, her local area, and that socially and economically. That's what solidarity-based finance is. That's what we accomplish over time. And that's what's novel and unique about SIDI. SIDI, with the Foundation Terre Solidaire, the CCFD Terre Solidaire, and the Ensemble Terre Solidaire, is part of a group, the Ensemble Terre Solidaire. It is a global project promoted by CCFD Terre Solidaire to work through different action levers, to work with partners, with organizations, trade organizations, unions, civil society in the global south as well. And what's the goal? Well, the goal is not that humble. It is to invent and promote solidarity-based, fair, and green society models. And what's the goal of that? As I said, all of these associations, all of these groups are there to help the more disadvantaged populations, the poorest, those that are forgotten and marginalized, those that are so far that they are hard to reach sometimes. And that's what solidarity-based finance is all about, to build a society that is more based on inclusion and solidarity. Now for CCFD Terre Solidaire, we have four areas where we act, but specifically here, economic justice and ecological justice. And that's why CCFD Terre Solidaire gave the city a mission to act in the name of a solidarity and social economy. 40 years ago, it was a very novel and unique tool. SIDI with its employees that I would like to congratulate and commend here today. I would like to thank them extremely warmly for everything that we have done together, and also together with about 100 voluntary workers who help the partners everywhere in the world. with all of them, the SIDI helps vulnerable populations to access adapted financial services. And it's all about what the partners need, the MFIs, the cooperatives, the farming enterprise, and that's how SIDI step by step elaborated its own model to fight against poverty, fight against marginalization, and to be a financial partner that is patient and resilient and mainly long-term. CCFD Terre Solidaire conceived of SIDI as an actor, a player in the French civil society, encouraging thousands of citizens to use some of their saving to support an enterprise, to support a green and social transition for all of the players who are involved. Some of these shareholders, some of these civil society shareholders are part of the ESD association, and they are part of the city's governance model. We also should remember the religious congregation that have been there from the beginning. They allowed us to steer and consolidate what SIDI is doing. How did they do that? Well, two things. Helping the partners who are faced with difficulties while covering risks, financing risks in at-risk zones. So that's what the Incentive Fund for Development is all about, and the ACT Foundation as well. The ACT Foundation was recently created by SIDI, and it allows for financing some of these missions that I was mentioning before. Second element that the religious congregation have been carrying out from the get-go, it's a shared governance with a limited partnership in order to supervise the social and solidarity-based mission. Another partnership that we would like to commend, the Crédit Coopératif. I would like to thank the representative and especially Denis Macrouf. They are a very crucial actor in the city's history, as well as the CCFD Terre Solidaire. Why is that? Well, because 40 years ago, they helped CCFD Terre Solidaire to launch SIDI, and they also helped develop an identity as a bank, promoting ethical, solidarity-based, and sharing finance, especially by creating a common fund for investment. It was the first one of its kind. It is the #1 ethical fund in Europe today, Fonds et Développement, FCP. And step by step, we developed a whole array of financial products that are all about solidarity. Someone asked me earlier, what's the next product? What's the next financial product? Well, we can talk about that a bit later. SIDI has experts that were able to leverage many elements thanks to their partners in supporting their partners. I'm thinking of institutional finance actors such as the Proparco, the European Investment Bank, the Inter-American Bank for Development, the West African Bank for Development. We implemented many continental mechanisms and financial tools. For example, Profound, the CIF, SICSA, FEFISOL 1, and FEFISOL 2. So even today, and more than ever, the SIDI mechanism is a pillar for solidarity-based finance, and it is relevant. Indeed, SIDI helps CCFD Terre Solidaire widening the network of partners to act in different geographic zones, continuing the advocacy for just and inclusive finance and economy. Advocacy is crucial for CCFD Terre Solidaire. Over 40 years, SIDI showed that another type of finance, another type of economy are indeed possible. It was demonstrated very concretely how we can use money not only to make profit, but to help international solidarity and foster economic, social, environmental justice. Now, I would like to talk about people. They are the ones who are targeted by this fair finance and fair economy. I met someone else in Uganda when I was in my SIDI mission in Uganda. It was in a small town in Uganda, in Lyotonde. And we met a few women who were part of an informal group, a group of associations, two farmers, and they had chosen to gather in order to use solidarity-based finance and to ask for credits together, that they would share their debt. And so it was all about who is able to pay for something on that day, who is able to buy that financial product, who is able to sell their yield. And that's how they could get more seeds. And you see how they really benefited from that idea. And if you remember the story I told you about the school, that the future is a crucial stake here. The main responsible for that group talked about this situation, and she said that if we were not here every day and if we were not here in the long term, well, she said that they would not be able to live with dignity and that their children would not have a future without SIDI. So that's what solidarity means. It was true yesterday, it is true today, and it is what we hope for the future. A little bit of help can sometimes create dynamics that impact thousands thousands of people in these marginalized areas. That's what this challenge is to give to disenfranchised population a means to be actors of their own development, to be empowered. SIDI still has this mission today. It's the same mission as 40 years ago. And for 40 years, SIDI has worked at this mission. Now we can ask a few questions, and you can think about it for this afternoon. We are faced with challenges, new challenges, future challenges for SIDI. In the current context, I can see at least two big challenges. There are many others, but that's what I want to focus on for now. Our world is faced with many crises, geopolitical crises, economic, social, ecological crises, and they're simultaneous crises. They make the context even more complex for us, and it weakens institutions, including microfinance institutions and the different partners that SIDI has over the world. So in that context, shouldn't we think about creating a specific fund, a guarantee fund? Of course, SIDI already has a specific fund for facing some risks, but not all of them. So that's the first question. Shouldn't we create that fund?
Secondly, we live in a world where there are major challenges, of course. We have a multiplicity of conflicts and crises, but we also are facing climate change, climate-related challenges. Now, when it comes to the challenges that SIDI is facing, we need to act. Now, we have the environmental transition that has already started. And here I'd like to pose a question. Shouldn't we start creating products that are specifically adapted to the challenges relating to climate change and its consequences? Products that allow us to face climate change. And now, to conclude this opening speech, I would like to really, really warmly thank you. I'd like to warmly thank each and every one of you, whether you are on staff, whether you are a volunteer, whether you are a shareholder, whether you are an institutional shareholder, whether you are part of a religious congregation, or whether you are a member of one of SIDI's governance bodies. Thank you so much, because it is thanks to you, to your efforts over the last 40 years, that SIDI has felt supported. You have enabled us to support our partners. You have also promoted another vision of financial and economic development. And you have also shown that an organization that is as unique as SIDI has a specific role to play in terms of representing solidarity-based financing in a more global environment. You have shown that finance has an impact, but you have also shown that solidarity-based financing has a role to play within this global environment. Also, at the heart of SIDI's mission, we find another message. We go where others do not go. We go into these difficult rural areas or risky areas to support people who are excluded from traditional economic and financial ecosystems, and we bring them services that aim to empower them, make them independent. And this all fits in with the social and environmental transition. So thank you so much for these 40 years of intense commitment on your end. And all the best when it comes to facing future challenges. Thank you so much. So, the Guarantee Fund and the specific fund for climate change. These are the two ideas that Sylvie was talking about. Now, if you want to purchase shares, feel free to do so. I was looking to see if there was a counter up there, but there isn't. Anyway, we are going to carry on. We're going to start our first roundtable discussion, and I would like to invite all of the speakers to come up to the stage with Anne-Sophie. So we have Professor John Ddumba. He represents the Centenary Group. We have Mohamed Attanda. We have Abdou-Rasmane Ouédraogo. We have Danny Maclouf. We have Françoise Michaud. We have Amourata Maiga. Thank you very much, Nicolaas. Thank you very much, Sylvie, for this really rich introduction. And it's a really good segue to the first roundtable discussion. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you to our panelists. We have quite a few panelists for this first roundtable discussion, and I will introduce them very briefly. First of all, we have Professor John Ddumba. You are an economics professor at the University of Makerere in Uganda. You have been the Vice Chancellor of this university. You have also been the President of Centenary Bank Uganda. So you were President between 2002 and 2019. And then you were the President of Centenary Group, which is under the Ugandan Catholic Episcopate. Then we have Mohamed Attanda. You have more than 15 years of experience in the area of inclusive finance. You are a qualified auditor. You are qualified to use SBI, and you are a trainer for some of these modules. In 2008, you joined the main network, the Microfinance African Institutions Network, and you became the managing director in 2014. We also have Amourata Maiga. I hope that you are with us, even if we can't see you. For 23 years now, you've been working for Nicolaas, based in Mali. Hello, Amourata. You have been head of agency, director for the Bamako branch, and you are also the director inspector of the network, and you have been so since June 2010. And in January 2024, you will become general deputy director for the network. We also have Abdou-Rasmane Ouédraogo. You are the General Director of UBTEC-Naam, which is a microfinance institution based in the north of Burkina Faso. Since 2018, you have also been in charge of the TAPSA project, which is entitled Transition Towards Local Agroecology for Food Sovereignty. Geneviève, Guenard, you were the Administrative and Finance Director of CCFD Terre, Solidaire. You were also a member of the Management Committee, and then you were the President of the Management Committee up until November this year. Danny Maclouf, you joined the BBCE group in 2003. You joined Crédit Coopératif in 2020. You were also on the board of some of the branches of Crédit Coopératif. One of these is Impulse Investment Managers. And you also represent its operations in Eastern Europe and MENA. Françoise Michaud, you have had a career as a medical gynecologist. You are very active within ACI, Action Catholique des Milieux Indépendants. You have been active since 1974. You have occupied various roles. For 4 years, you were vice president of ACI. Since 2017, you have been a shareholder for SIDI. And you were also elected to the board of the Individual Shareholders Association within SIDI, and you are now the president. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. So before I give you the floor, before we start the debate, I'd like to briefly introduce the topic. I'd like to introduce the first phase of SIDI. For around 10-12 years, SIDI was directly investing in SMEs, and then it started investing via local investment organizations. And it contributed to setting up around 10 institutions in several countries. It was an experimental phase for SIDI. Not many of these institutions or investment organizations based locally were economically viable. Some of them were, however, and some of them have lasted until today. Some of them are still providing financial services to the local economic ecosystem. One example is CIPEM. Some of you may know CIPEM in Madagascar. A few years ago, this institution got a banking license, so it has been able to provide banking services and financial services in Madagascar. That's also the case for Alamama in Morocco. It's a microfinance institution. It's the main such institution in the country, and it is an offshoot of one of these small local investment organizations. SIDI has been supporting Alamama for decades, and we continue to support Alamana, mainly in the role of governance. So after these 10 years of experimentation, SIDI carried out an assessment, and we made some changes, strategically speaking. We decided to refocus, as Sylvie explained. We decided to refocus on more vulnerable communities excluded from the traditional economic and financial ecosystems. So we decided to focus on micro-enterprises. That was at the time when microfinance was experiencing somewhat of a boom. So that's how SIDI met Centenary Bank in Uganda. And that happened 30 years ago. We took out capital in the beginning, and we now own 10% of the capital holdings. And we also are on the Centenary Bank board. Mr. Ddumba, SIDI has been supporting the organization for 25 years now. Can you describe the big stages, the main stages of your organization's trajectory and its partnership with SIDI?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I do recognize each one of you present, and thank you very much for inviting us actually to be part of this 40 years of celebration. Apparently, we are together. Centenary Group or Centenary Bank is also celebrating 40 years this year. So you are most welcome to Kampala in December, 9th December. Allow me to categorize our milestones of Centenary Bank or Centenary Group together with the SIDI in two types, actually. One of them is the transformation, and the other is visibility. SIDI has assisted Centenary Bank in terms of transformation and in terms of visibility. Centenary Bank was created in 1983 as a trust, and it was known as Centenary Rural Development Trust. Soon after its establishment, the trust faced a number of challenges: lack of funding, lack of technical personnel, poor governance, and generally there was lack of capacity. The trust almost collapsed, actually. At that time, there was Monsignor Emmanuel Chibilige. He looked around for those individuals, for the partners who could assist Centenary Bank or Centenary Trust not to collapse. And when he looked around, he saw SIDI. and that's way back in 1991. He identified SIDI as a partner, and SIDI provided funding. SIDI provided technical assistance, and also SIDI became a shareholder. That assistance from SIDI to Centenary Trust helped us to survive. They gave us that technical assistance, which made Centenary Trust to grow. And as a result, that was the first transformation. We were able to transform from a trust to a fledged commercial bank. We transformed from Centenary Rural Development Trust to Centenary Rural Development Bank, thanks to SIDI, thanks to Christian and the others who are here. After that transformation, the bank acquired 6 branches from a bank which was about to collapse. That was Cooperative Bank. From that transformation, the bank started some bit of growth, actually, experiencing growth. And also, after 15 years of existence, the Centenary Bank started paying some dividends to the shareholders. So that's one transformation from a trust to a commercial bank. Then the second transformation, which we owe to SIDI, is that in 2018, it became necessary for us to transform from a bank to a Centenary group, to a group structure. There was a need to expand, to diversify. And wanted to form a group. The requirement of forming a group is that it should be 50 shareholders. And then we had only 24 shareholders. And then SIDI, on its own, without being forced, offered to forego 2.3% of its shareholding to us so that we could look for additional shareholders to become a holding company. So after that 2-3%, we became a group structure, thanks to SIDI. And in particular, thanks to Dominic, actually. Dominic played a major role here, making sure that we form a group. And from that day, we formed a group. We have Centenary Bank. We have Centenary Bank Uganda, Centenary Bank Malawi. We have a Centenary Foundation, and also we have a Centenary Technology Services. And that's because of you, SIDI. We thank you very much. Now, the second category of milestones is into visibility, becoming visible. That up to 2013, Centenary Bank had no home. So in 2007, we decided to construct a building, which we call Mapera Building. I think it's among the best top buildings in Uganda. When we were making that decision, we have other partners, of course. Some of them were reluctant to construct that building. But SIDI, you are there to support us, making sure that we construct this building. So we did construct this building, and as I say, it's among the top 10. And from that day onwards, Centenary Bank became visible up now. And lastly, another form of visibility is that in 2022, we made a decision to extend the bank operations beyond Uganda. We decided to have a partner in Malawi with the Archdiocese of Lilongwe to buy a bank in Malawi. We made that decision, but it was not an easy decision. Among the partners is only SIDI, which supported our decision of buying, of going out of Uganda and acquiring a bank in Malawi. Thanks to SIDI, and also, in particular, thanks to Dominic, who supported us so much to make sure that we do extend our operations beyond Uganda. We have enjoyed our relationship with SIDI. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you tell us what Centenary Bank is about today, what their place is in Uganda, in the sector, in the region, how it's expanded in the country, how many people are using the services at the Centenary Bank?
Say that Centenary Bank is a household name in Uganda today. Centenary Bank is the second largest bank, second to Stanbic Bank. We serve 2.5 clients, which is quite a big number, 2.5 million. We have 80 branches throughout the country. We have 8,000 bank agents dispersed throughout the country. It's the largest microfinance bank in Africa. Okay. Another thing to note is that Centenary Bank is mainly focusing on microfinance. It is after financial inclusion. Centenary Bank has over 200 ATMs, and most important, it offers employment to 3,000 people of Uganda. And Centenary Bank is among the top 20 companies which contributes revenue to the government treasury. I thank you.
Merci. Maintenant, je me tourne vers...
Now I'd like to give the floor to Mohamed. 30 years that SIDI, as well as CPL in Madagascar and Centenary Bank, 30 years that the MAIN network, the Microfinance African Institution Network, has been created. It's grown a lot, and it contributes to giving more visibility to microfinance institution in the continent. Can you tell us how the MAIN was created and what the role of the MAIN network is? Thank you, Anne-Sophie. I would like to thank the SIDI as well, who invited the MAIN network to be part of the 40 years anniversary. Like, say, happy birthday, SIDI. Happy anniversary, and we will soon invite you for the 30 years of the MAIN network. The history of the MAIN network and SIDI together, it is an old history, 30 years almost. SIDI was created with CCFD, and with 5 other institutions constituted themselves as financial institutions and created a network so that all these financial resources could be used for the most disadvantaged, disenfranchised in that sector. And that's what microfinance is about, is helping these people. That's why these 5 institutions united in Côte d'Ivoire in 1995 to implement this network. Now, on the 30th of June 2023, we were 130 members in 25 different countries. The network is very diversified. We have microfinance institution, professional institution, association, banks, social investors, universities who are partners, and they help us to bolster capacities of the financial actors. Now, in the African context nowadays, the main network, thanks to the SIDI, again, has been taking a crucial place. We co-organized the Microfinance Week in Africa. It is currently taking place in Lomé. And some of the participants who were taking part in this week celebrated the 10 years of this week for finance in Africa. The first conference was in 2013 in Arusha. The network, our network, is the only one that is still resilient today in that sector. In 2017, there were the AMT network, and it was not holding on. And they contacted the main network and asked if we could get together. And in 2017, the main acquired this other institution and it became the main network. We have to talk about responsible, ethical inclusion as well as transparency. All of these actors need to be transparent in terms of who benefits from their financial products. So that's our history. Now, as the sector became more structured, have you seen any change in what the members were asking for? Do you know how many institutions you supported through training, and how many people did you train? Thanks a lot. Yeah, this sector is extremely dynamic. Nicolaas said it earlier. When microfinance started in the 80s, it was very different. Now, the needs are different. It moves around a lot. One of the main innovations and one of the challenges we face today is digitalization. We organize many workshops to train our members about digitalization. Another challenge is using the resources. It is a challenge for microfinancing institutions, and I would like to call upon the shareholders and to ask SIDI. SIDI is already very involved in that topic, but there is a lot to do about resources. We hear you. And we also hope that microfinance institutions will have the necessary resources so that the poorest population and the most disadvantaged population can benefit from microcredits, $1, $2, $3, $4, so that they can get out of poverty. Now, some numbers. 130 members of the main network have 14.5 million beneficiaries who use the services. 92 training sessions. About 42 people participated in the training sessions. Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to Abdou-Rasmane about UBTEC-Naam. It's in the north of Burkina Faso with a big rural area. What do you do in this region and with the producers? Thank you, Anne-Sophie. Before I respond to your question, I would like to wish myself a happy birthday because I just turned 40. So I would like to say happy birthday to me and the SIDI. UBTEC is indeed based in the north of Burkina Faso. It is the most rural and arid zone with climate challenges, security challenges, health challenges, many challenges. And that's in that context that we work. Providing financial and non-financial services for the most vulnerable. Especially, we work with farmers. UBTEC was created by the greatest peasant organization in Burkina. It is the National Federation of NAM, with 90 unions, member of that federation. And we work together with these unions so that we can offer our financial services for the smaller producers. Now, our strategy, what is it about? Well, we help our partners and we benefit from the SIDI's help. They've been supporting us for a while. It was possible thanks to Dominique, who was recruited by SOS Fin from Luxembourg to restructure our funds and implement the organization. We benefited from technical assistance. Dominique works for SOS Fin, and he helped us. Together with the technical team. That's how we created novel mechanisms to use saving and turn saving into microcredit, especially for targets such as women in particular. For example, we developed MISO, which is a financial mechanism that promotes solidarity as well as using saving, giving microcredits, and informing about finance. So it's a financial service and also a non-financial service. It promotes social values, so it goes beyond microfinance. It's more than that. So we start with financial services, but we also promote other things, including solidarity. Since 2018, you are part of the TAPSA project, transitioning to the rural agroecology. This project is financed by CCFD, Terre, Solidaire, SIDI, and the French development agencies. How do you work on that with your customers? So our area is the most arid area of Burkina Faso. In this area, we face a lot of climate challenges. Only 3 months of rain in the year, so accessing water is a problem. Back in 2016 and 2017, I think 2016, we had to deal with a climate event. It greatly impacted our economical activity. If you know about the north of Burkina Faso and Mali, we cannot imagine rain in April. And that's where we produce vegetables. We produce vegetables for the rest of the country. In April 2016, flooding decimated the entire production of market gardening. 50% of the portfolio was affected. 50% of our portfolio was impacted, but we did not stay idle. We worked together with SOS Fund Luxembourg as well as SIDI. We did not want to take pity on ourselves. We just started working together with our producers, and we created a helping mechanism to face this climate challenge. There was especially a project financed by CCFD and AFD. That was the program to transition socially and ecologically. And that's how we developed a politic targeted on green challenges. Emmanuel Villot worked together with us on technical aspects, and we analyzed how vulnerable some of our rural exploitations were in terms of investment, equipment, what they needed, and that's how we were able to look at what type of farming practices are actually respectful of the environment. And we worked on evaluating how profitable these are, how we can use the land in a sustainable manner, as well as the water, how we can use fertilizer, organic fertilizer, and we had to supervise the economic profitability over time in order to incentivize using them. And all of our rural populations, they were very receptive to all of these incentives. For example, with higher interest rates or reinforcing capabilities. So we kept on going with these politics. We financed 2,200 farmers who use sustainable means. 17,000 women benefit from aid with credit that amounts to more than 1 million francs. So your action, SIDI and SOS Fin, all of that helped us to have an impact on the local level, smaller farmers, women who don't have access to credit, who usually don't have access to credit in traditional financial ecosystems because they don't have the same guarantees as some men. But even men in these rural areas, sometimes they do not either have the same guarantees. That's how we found the right approach. Thank you very much.
Can we see if Amourata is there? Can we see if it's working with Amourata? This time we can't see Amourata. There we go. So Amourata, I will ask you the same question. Could you briefly introduce Nyesigiso? And we know that this is a West African network. It concentrates a lot of savings. How is it that you've been able to get funding from SIDI and FISOL? Can you talk to us a little bit about your trajectory? SIDI has contributed a lot in its partnership with Nyesigiso. And I'd like to hear talk about some of the important aspects, namely social performance management, environmental management, and the principles relating to education as well. SIDI has supported us in many ways, and I don't have enough time to talk about all of the ways that SIDI has supported us. But they've helped us to get in touch with many other partners that SIDI has. SIDI supported us at a very difficult time. At one time, we had some real difficulties. Our former partners decided to leave, and it was really, really difficult for us. So we'd like to thank SIDI so much for supporting us at that time. And I wouldn't be able to say everything that I'm saying if Anne-Marie wasn't there with a stopwatch. I have to say that SIDI has acted so professionally. And we hope that SIDI will continue to support organizations like ours. To conclude, I would like to say that the Nyesigiso network does wish you the very best of luck with regards to the next stage of its partnerships in Africa, especially in Togo. And we wish you all the best of luck in Mali as well. Have an excellent birthday, SIDI. And we're looking forward to the next 40 years of working together. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Amourata, for your testimony. And thank you so much for this first round of questions and answers. You've shown how SIDI has been able to support their partners in a long-term sense during difficult times and in difficult contexts. Now I'm going to turn to Geneviève, because this long-term support was only possible thanks to the nature of the resources that SIDI has. We have patient capital, we have support resources, and they have been provided by our founding shareholders. One of these is the collection of congregations. Geneviève, you're wearing several hats here. Could you talk a little bit about the different roles that you have had within SIDI? And as an auxiliary nun, as a member of the Auxiliary Sisters Congregation, could you talk a little bit about your different roles within SIDI? Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that solidarity-based finance, rather, is a real adventure. in its relevance has only grown. I think it will become even more relevant in the future, given the current situation that we're seeing. Now here, to start, I'd like to read out a quote. In 2003, Paul Dembinski, the director of the Finance Observatory in Geneva, said, and I quote, "Solidarity-based financing goes against all logic. This is not so much a question of the legitimacy of the Economic Act. That's not the thing that we are denying. But it is through that that we aim to have a real impact, socially speaking, in terms of freedom, in terms of services to the environment, social cohesion, and the fight against exclusion." Our partners often use the term inclusive finance. Quite often, finance tends to exclude people rather than include. But solidarity-based finance is another kind of finance. And this desire to include people, this desire to bring about a positive impact, is something that has characterized the start of the work of the CCFD and the religious congregations in the realm of solidarity-based finance. Now let's have a bit of a history lesson. In the 70s, CCFD was already trying to use economic tools for the purposes of development. But these were incipient beginnings, and it was quite complicated at the time. And then in the 80s, for those among us who are a little bit older, it was a Solidarność event in Poland that catalyzed everything. CCFD became active in Poland and provided donations. In that context, CCFD met the committee of the Primate of Poland, set up by Mr. Gelemp, who wanted to promote economic development. He didn't want us to provide donations, he wanted us to provide capital, reimbursable capital, to support economic development. That really resonated with what CCFD wanted, its mission. And CCFD was trying to figure out how to support these endeavors. And it couldn't do so as a Catholic-based committee. That wasn't possible. It just simply wasn't possible to have such a religious and overtly Catholic brand image in some of these countries. In order to be active in other countries, we needed another structure. Gradually, we decided to set up SIDI. Now, at the time, we had 500,000 francs. That was the amount of capital we had. Now, we say only 500,000 francs. But it was quite a lot at the time. At the time, it seemed quite a lot of money. Then the religious congregations were very committed right from the beginning, because building a solidarity-filled world is at the heart of their DNA. Building this inclusive finance movement was essential. Now, we had 500,000 francs, but we grew quite quickly after that. The CCFD held 50% of SIDI's shares. But once SIDI started growing, it was quite difficult for CCFD to still hold 50% of the shares. So we set up a shareholders' pact with the CCFD. We wanted to be active and work together. The idea was to maintain SIDI's political priorities. Basically, we wanted to support the disenfranchised sectors of the population. That was really important. And then SIDI grew again. At one time, the congregations couldn't even follow these guidelines of 50% of shares. So we changed the structure and we set up a limited partnership, a shares limited partnership. So this was the aim. We wanted to keep the political priorities. So this is a structure that has lasted for a long time, and I think it has a lot of time ahead of it. So, at the same time, in 1983, on the instigation of the religious congregations, CCFD created the Fin and Development Common Investment Fund with the support of the cooperative credit body, which really gave a structure to this product and agreed to commercialize it. Yes, so Crédit Coopératif shares the same values as all of us. Even before, this was even before 1983. It was even before 1983 we started working on this. We started to support the Solidaire movement. Right from the beginning, we had the same values. We wanted to make the world more sustainable, more fair, more equal. So these are the same words that kept coming up in Sylvie's introduction. At the time, SIDI had been set up, it provided investments, loans, and at the same time, CCFD wanted to collect more long-term donations. So we decided to set up this fund, this common fund, and basically the idea was that up to 50% of the interest would be then put back in SIDI to provide technical support rather. So that started in 1983. So we have Carole Sachs from Crédit Coopératif and Jean-Paul Vigier from CCFD, who were a really big part of this. So this was set up in 1983. So in the north, in the global north, so to speak, we had the savers, and in the global south, we had the people working on the ground. And we created a virtuous cycle which spread to other associations, such as Terre des Hommes, Frères des Hommes, the French Committee for International Solidarity. So it was a good start. And here we're joined by ECOFI, one of our branches, Claire Martinetto, and another of their representatives are here. So feel free to go up to them during the cocktail, reception afterwards. So this was basically the first shares-based product that was set up. And that's what really gave meaning to the term solidarity-based finance. Now, the term didn't really exist at the time. But as I said, the term didn't really exist back then. So it was a big success. We had up to 60 million euros, and we've had up to 27 million euros of donations as well. So 27 million. There are other funds. So there's the climate fund, and there's part that is given over to CCFD. That's for donations. Yes, well, we know that all of this is very dependent on interest rates. So this is a real challenge, I think, and it will be a challenge in the future in terms of finding a level of stability and providing long-term donations. Is that right? Yes, indeed. Now, at the time, interest rates were very high. I think interest rates were 15% at the time. That was in the 80s. So there was a lot of volatility on the market. In 2022, we generated 500,000 million. Sorry, 500,000. And there were no distributions. But fortunately, our predecessors thought of everything. And we came up with shares-based products. So these are either savings accounts or cards. So you have classic savings accounts or solidarity savings accounts. You can give 30, 40, 50% of the interest to to the association that you want, the association of your choice. So these associations generally get 50% of the interest generated from these savings accounts. And then you also have classic credit cards called Agir or ACT. Basically, these generate donations every time they are used. And when you take money out of the ATMs, you can provide micro donations. So that comes on top of the revenue generated from donations. Okay, thank you. So this is a great new mechanism. Okay, I will give the floor to Françoise. So we've always been open to individual shareholders. We have around 2,000 now. And we have a lot of these individual shareholders. How is citizens' mobilization structured in order to provide SIDI these patient and solidarity-based donations which allow us to invest in Global South countries?
So it was structured in a different way because we're the other side of the financial solidarity chain. So, as shareholders, we are here to provide funds individually. The CCFD is an association, a typical French association. ESD is a group of shareholders, and it grew over the years compared to other institutional actors. We have 1,552 shareholders and amount to 33% of SIDI's capital. The goal is to be associated to the SIDI mission, grouping to have a collective voice at the General Assembly, and also shareholders who are part of the ESD Association of Shareholders. They give their voice to the group, so we have one voice. And we want to promote that type of development in France, share-based and solidarity-based investment that will go to other countries globally. And another mission is to participate in the leading voices of the SIDI. Mike, please. The main role is to act in the name of SIDI, promoting shareholding, being a network of solidarity-based saving with CCFD Terre Solidaire. All of these networks, they work together with what exists, with what is there already in the SIDI. We have working groups on training, agroecology, ecological transition, forums, workshops. The goal is to promote our action in France. And we also work together with the institutional level of SIDI, together with the managing committee that we mentioned earlier, with two institutions, the Consultation and Orientation Committee that prepares the strategy of SIDI and that ensures the democratic governance of this society. It also ensures that we abide by the strategy plan and the ethical charter. There's also the Surveillance Council that supervises the association's management. This ensures that everyone who is part of ESD has a weight, has a voice in terms of governance. Now, what is the profile of these shareholders? Who are they? And what made you a shareholder? Shareholders, well, they're individuals who are sometimes often part of CCFD Terre Solidaire, but they don't only want to donate, but they also want to loan and invest. Investing is like donating many times. SIDI has partners and beneficiaries locally, and knowing what where your money is going directly is something that's very interesting for our shareholders, and putting an emphasis on solidarity and environmental responsibility. In more than 10% of the cases, our shareholders are couples, so a family history. I've seen that there are entire families that are shareholders, and they remain shareholders through the generations, 3-4 generations sometimes. So you can see how convinced and how trustworthy they are. Someone testified and said that they had been economists, financial director at the French Agency of Development, and then they were a consultant for SIDI, and they knew that they shared the same values, so they said that they would also buy some shares. Another shareholder said that they didn't know much about the mechanism, but they wanted their support to be long-term. All of these people, they're very sensitive to having an actionable way to help. They want a fairer and greener world. I'm talking about individuals, but there are also legal entities and religious congregations. Now you ask why I am here personally. Well, when I thought about it, I remembered one date, the 13th of February 2016. Jean-Paul Vigier had been invited at the ACI. I've been active for a while now, and the ACI was one of the founding movement of the CCFD Terre Solidaire. That day was a national day for delegates in CCFD, and Jean-Paul Vigier had been invited, and that's how I discovered SIDI. I met Gabriel Marc, who had been a president of the ACI, and he was here as a co-creator of SIDI and president of the CCFD. And that's when I discovered SIDI. It was in February, and then in November of that same year, 2016, there was an international meeting in Burkina Faso and a trip with 4 SIDI members. And that was an amazing experience for me. I met Ouédraogo in Uiguya. We spent 2 days with Abdou. It was amazing. We met so many people. We visited the offices, and I saw a big placard that said, "You won't see the word peasant the same way anymore." We participated in a general assembly with hundreds and hundreds of women demonstrating with, they drew exactly what they received. So chicken, carrots. They were humble and full of dignity. It was an amazing experience for me. It was difficult back then for me to buy shares, but a year later I became a shareholder. Laurent Chéreau came to the ACI and talked about solidarity-based finance, and I was very convinced by his talk. I became a shareholder. I was invited in Ecuador. It was supposed to happen in 2020, but it was actually postponed to 2022. And a lot of progress had been made since 2016 in terms of ecology, the environment, protecting the environment. And so when I came back from Ecuador, I got more active in SIDI, and I accepted this role that I have now. Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope that your testimony will help us find new shareholders. We have 15 minutes to go around the table again. You have 2 minutes each to talk about current challenges for you in your organizations and whether or not SIDI is still relevant for you and can keep helping you face these challenges. Professor Ddumba.
SIDI is still relevant. We are now a group, and our mission is to transform lives of the people and promote environmental conservation through financial inclusion and innovation business solutions. Environment, you are there. There's no you can escape. So SIDI, you are still with us for some time to come. We'd like to go beyond Uganda. SIDI, you are most welcome. Regarding the environment, we are there also. So SIDI is still relevant to our organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Abdou, your context is particularly challenging in terms of security with risks and many difficulties. How can the SIDI help? I believe that it is now more than ever that we need the SIDI, because in these extremely difficult moments we need solidarity. And I believe that the president of CCFD, Terre Solidaire, mentioned these challenges, geopolitical challenges, environmental challenges, and I believe that we have to go past tensions within our associations and invest more in solidarity-based actions. We believe that SIDI can help in these difficult moments. Thank you very much. Mohamed? The network that you lead facing the social and green transition, SIDI is helping with that. What do you expect from the SIDI for the next few years? Thank you very much, Anne-Sophie. But just like the others said, SIDI is very relevant for the main network. I believe that this partnership is what led SIDI to ask the main network to house the SIDI employees in Lomé. And that's what we're doing. And I really hope that the future of SIDI is in our network. There are various challenges, of course. The ecological and social transition, that's part of the strategic plan, and over the last 3 years, it was what we put emphasis on with the French Agency of Development, SIDI, ACT, and Terre Solidaire. For the second phase that starts in 2024, SIDI should trust the main network for this mission. We developed a first booklet about methodology and financial products. It's the first booklet that has been published in the African Week of Microfinance. First of its kind. And we want to consolidate this relation with SIDI and the partners. I would like to thank Christian Smith, who for supporting the network, and Dominique Le Saff as well. All of the directors that worked for SIDI put a lot of efforts into our network so that we became a powerful tool in the African continent. Thank you very much. Yes, we mentioned that before. SIDI supports organizations that work in difficult contexts. Nisi Gesso in Mali as well. The feed that is crucial for our organization that allows us to keep working in these geographical areas. Congregations as well, who contributed till now to cover these risks. Sylvie mentioned it. Mike, please. This fund will be put to use this year. So, yes, we can find a way to develop new mechanisms, new guarantees. So what are your perspectives for that, your outlook? Yes, religious congregations are useful because we manage things in common, and that's where we have our strength to work together. I would say, SIDI, do not be afraid to work with congregations. It is essential, and you have to say directly to the congregation, we need you, and we can invent new products, new tools with you. That's how the feed was created. That's how the Terre Solidaire Foundation was financially supported. And I believe that congregations, even if they are getting a bit older and they are not what they used to be, they have the means that have been created by solidarity, and they want to use these means for solidarity. So do not hesitate. Please feel free to work with us.
Danny, what about the partnership with Crédit Coopératif? Because there are a lot of programs at the moment. Yes, indeed. There are three main ways in which we work with SIDI and the CCFD. First of all, we have the sharing funds, so the common investment funds and the savings accounts. That's the first aspect. Secondly, we have direct investments in SIDI. So Crédit Coopératif actually contributed to setting up SIDI, and we've been a shareholder ever since. And here I'd like to thank the director for a participation, who's in the third row, I think. She's done a lot. Also, we have EcoFin, so we have the asset management, which is all about socially responsible investments. Also, as I said, we invest in SIDI and we provide loans to SIDI. Thirdly, there are common investments, joint investments. So we would directly invest in microfinance institutions, namely in Burkina Faso. And recently we've gone further. We've got international funds. So Crédit Coopératif is in contact with an asset management organization. And we've set up this investment fund. So basically big institutions rather, like the French Development Agency, can work with us. So I would also like to thank Dominique as well. I don't want to be the only one to not mention him. Dominique has been really important in bringing Crédit Coopératif and SIDI together. In 2021, this started, and a month ago, SIDI became a main shareholder in Impulse. This partnership with Impulse was set up in 2021. So, who better than SIDI to continue with these programs? Yes, thank you. So this partnership with Impulse is really important. It's important for working on other mechanisms as well. So, Francis, we've seen that the needs are considerable in terms of capital as well. That's a real challenge. We need capital. We need to mobilize new shareholders, particularly individual shareholders. How can we meet these challenges together? Well, first of all, there's the issue of competition with other actors in the area of solidarity-based financing. At the moment, everything is local. That's a bit of a fad. So we need to show people that we all live in the same planet at the end of the day. Not everyone lives in France. We need to go beyond the French bubble. But yes, I think we need to fight against this over-localism in a way. Also, there's sometimes a desire to get money back on savings. And sometimes there's a lack of return on investment. And that's put some people off. So we need to show people that taking part in SIDI is very beneficial. These benefits are not always financial in nature. You're taking part in a good cause, in a charity. So perhaps we needed to showcase that. And also taking part in SIDI is a way of obtaining a lot of benefit, even if it's not financial benefit. This is also about encouraging young people to take part. There's another issue, that of passing on shares. People don't live forever, so we need to think about what will happen to shareholders in the future, and what will happen to SIDI's shares. Next week, I'm going to Brest, and I think Marie-Madeleine will join me in Heeren. So there are shares there in Brittany. There are people there who have helped us, and I think this is about showcasing what we do. Also, we need to show people that their savings can have an impact. That's important as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for this first roundtable discussion. And I will give the floor back to Nicolaas. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of our panelists. It was really interesting. Inclusion. Inclusion is a buzzword, the word of the day. During the second part, we will also have panelists connected on a line. I hope it will work. Now, we've seen from our colleagues in Mali and Burkina Faso that we can reach areas that are in very difficult situations. Microfinance works even in these very isolated and difficult areas. Quite often we feel like these places are cut off, but they're not. quite often there are big challenges relating to security. Within that context, we're going to move on to our colleagues in Palestine. So we have our partners from Palestine, Adnan Faramond, the president of ACAD Finance. As I said, he's the president of ACAD Finance. And we also have Sami Barghouti, who is the director general of ACAD Finance. So I'm going to switch into English now. I hope that it will all work.
And Sami Barghouti, I hope you can, yes, there they are, great. I hope you can hear us. It's going to be quite a technical challenge, but I'm sure we will be able to get over it. Thank you very much for your time and your availability to be with us here in this nice room. What I would like to ask as a first question is, in the current context which we find in Palestine, how can you describe the current context in Palestine for an MFI, and more particularly for one with a branch in the Gaza Strip? Parce qu'en effet, ils sont donc aussi présents dans la Gaza. So, Adnan, I think you wanted to give us a response to that.
Thank you for inviting us for this session. My name is Adnan Faramand. I am the chairman of ACAD Board of Directors, and we are here in ACAD office in Ramallah, and it's our pleasure to be with you today. We were looking forward to be in Paris and to participate in this wonderful event, but with the current situation in Palestine, we were not able to make it. So thanks for letting us to be here, even virtually, and we would like to thank and congratulate SIDI for its 40 years of anniversary. At the beginning, I would like to give you some information about ACAD and the current situation. We as ACAD established in 2014, and since our establishment, as you may know, that we are working in Palestine under occupation since 1967. And when we say that we are working under occupation, this means that the way we are conducting our business is totally different than any place in the world are working within a normal situation. Since our establishment, even when it was calm, the situation is normal, we were not able to visit our office in Gaza because since 2006, there was an Israeli siege over Gaza, sea, land, air, and it was difficult to go and visit our office, meet our people, our staff there, and our clients. And definitely, when we talk about working under occupation, means that some of the restrictions are on all kinds of businesses, not only MFIs, but other businesses. And I'll give you an example from today, that before we came, we were, as usual, as Palestinians, keep watching the TV, that in Jenin, there's invasion of our Jenin camp again and again, and 10 people were killed in Jenin just a few minutes ago. And in Ramallah, one civilian was also killed this morning. So every day there's incidents, there's killing around us, and this means that people sometimes are not able to do and function as normal as anybody else. In Gaza, as you may know, that currently Gaza is under invasion. It's the 34th day. Maybe you already saw what's going in Gaza on your TVs. The number of people who were killed, over 10,000 people, Most of them are women, children, around 4,000 children, women and civilians, and whole Gaza is under attack. So when such number of people are being killed, this means that when we talk about the infrastructure of Gaza, of bombing, will be details, because nothing in Gaza is being functioning, nothing is being human in Gaza. And we as Palestinians feel that maybe the international community will show more solidarity to understand that Palestinians are calling for freedom, as any other nations in this world, that Palestinians want to have end of violence, have stability, and have peace, where our children can sleep peacefully, as well as Israeli children. But it's not accepted anymore that the whole world, their children can sleep peacefully, while Palestinian children are being slaughtered. People are writing the names of their children on their arms and on their legs. So when there is a bombing, people can identify this is whose body is under this building or that building. So simply, Palestinians over decades of resistance under the occupation are still demanding to have an independent state, which most of us as Palestinians are demanding to have two-state solution, one for Israelis and one for Palestinians, and to have peaceful relation and cooperation among the two states. But it's not being understood that the whole world is having double standards, keep supporting Israel regardless of the casualties of Palestinians over the years. It's mistaken for the international community to consider the current event started on November 7th. This event started since the occupation started, and people start asking for their freedom, but with all sorrow, for the last 25 or 30 years, our Palestinian Authority has been trying negotiation peacefully with Israel to reach a settlement for a two-state solution. But Israelis are simply not willing to abide to international laws, to international committees and UN resolutions, and that's why through the negotiation and peaceful talks, we did not reach anywhere. But the contrary, more settlements are being built in Palestine between today and Oslo Accords signed. More settlers now are in West Bank. More land has been confiscated, and the situation is in West Bank is becoming to be more and more difficult. And this is in addition to what is occurring in Gaza. So my point is that we as Palestinians were shocked with the international response of what happened lately in October 7th. All of us are against the killing of civilians. We all are calling for peace and for stability, but we never understood France, as the home of the revolution, is becoming to be afraid of the Palestinian flag, is becoming to be afraid of our heritage and traditional scarf, which is al-hatta. We felt very sorry that France, a nation of revolution, free speech, people who has been witnessing what means of an occupation, and they paid the high price for liberation of France and to build their own republic. Nowadays, they are taking such decisions and regulations that they are not allowing people to raise the flag or to wear the scarf. not allowing people to demonstrate, to show solidarity. And this is not only in France, but in other countries in Europe. Although over the past years we were depending highly on the international community and on the UN resolution that we can achieve our purpose of freedom and independency by negotiations, by implementing UN regulations. But it seems that UN agency and UN regulations does not support marginalized people, does not support people oppressed under occupation. It seems that we were understanding the picture in a wrong way, that the international agencies, international community are supporting each other. The superpower are supporting their interest in this world, while the people who are marginalized, the laws are not being implemented or cannot be forced to stop a war or to stop a massacre or national cleansing. And what we are witnessing today is that when the superpowers need the UN resolution to attack countries like Iraq or other countries, they would utilize this international laws and resolutions to give them the power to attack other nations. But when other nations are oppressed and under occupation, this whole system of international community and UN as an organization is helpless. They cannot do anything. They can speak about it, but actually no action is being taken to stop of what is going on in Gaza. People are thirsty, no water, no food, hospitals are down, nothing is being provided to them, and the whole international community is witnessing what's going on without taking any real action. Some of the countries were condemning what's doing, but condemning, what does it mean if people and children are thirsty, needs medical treatment, but nobody can help them. So we are sorry of what we are witnessing. Of course, our relation mainly with France, it's long relations as a nation and as a CAB. And when our President Yasser Arafat was really sick and was ill in his past days, he only was asking to go to France to be treated there because he felt that the French people are the most people that he can have confidence in and can treat him. So this is our slogan in general. 2 days ago, I was in a meeting with our bishop in Ramallah and the Catholic Church, and he was telling me about the Catholic Church in Gaza, where they are hosting like 700 Christians in Gaza, and that they are trying their best to survive. Israelis were, prior to this action, asking them if they want to flee out of Gaza, that they might provide them support to flee out of Gaza. But those Christian Gazans, people in Gaza, told them, this is part of our country, this is our church, this is our land, we are willing to die to protect our land, our church, and we are not fleeing out of Gaza. We don't want to have another Nakba and to be refugees again in another country. So people are willing to die in their homeland, in their churches and mosques, and still people, as if this is not being understood by the international community, and people are dealing with it as if the war is between Hamas and Israel, which is not true. It's becoming to be a massive killing of civilians, Palestinians living in Gaza, and the international community yet is not decisive how to deal with this issue, how to take action, because Israel is violating most of the international news, doing crimes over and over, but still nobody is questioning them. I hope I was able to present our situation. Maybe it's a bit of a sad situation, but this is a fact finding what I have been presenting, and we hope things will be better, although we are not much optimistic because of what we are seeing, not only in Gaza, but also in West Bank on daily basis, as if there's a decision to ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem, somewhere with the support of most of the international community. Thank you very much, and please, if you have other questions, we are ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Adnan. Important for us indeed to have these direct words from you coming from where, well, but coming straight from Palestine. Let me just assure you, it is not the whole of the Western countries who are on one point. There are other voices. I think that at least at the CCFD we are in full solidarity with the Palestinian people. We think that there is of course a right for a Palestinian state. And in that sense, don't think that you are all on your own. There are other people everywhere, and you've known it from the past when we were working on the financial situation and the banking. We're going to talk about that just in a sec with Samir. But on that political issue, there are plenty of people, including in France, who want to influence the French government and who wants to go to a solution and indeed end the violence in the Gaza Strip so that there will be a future possible, as you said yourself, of two states where people can be living in peace, have normal relations and children have a future. So let me assure you of that before I go on the more kind of technical field. I hope that you were able to hear that. Samir, you're the Director General of ACAD Finance. Let us have a little input from you more on the relation with the SIDI, if that would be possible. I know that the creation of ACAD was a bit of a different thing from an NGO park in the 80s. I remember that. I met them when I was there. Moving to a MFI, how did that work? How do you work also on that very difficult situation? We just heard it of violence, of destruction, and that you kind of invented this new kind of guarantee mechanism, which is quite peculiar. Maybe you can tell us a bit about that, please.
Sur l'association microfinance, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé, qu'est-ce que vous avez inventé sur la microfinance et les garanties, tout ça?
My colleague Adnan mentioned that ACAD was established in 2014, but this was established 2014 as regulated microfinance institution. But the program is started before that, long time ago in 1988. So since 1988 we were working under continuing occupation. We faced two huge intifada, the first one in 1988, and then the second huge intifada in 2000. We faced 4 wars, and now we are facing the 5th one. In such difficult situation, we managed to survive, of course. We are still working, we survived. We are a well-known, solid microfinancing provider in Palestine. But of course, we couldn't survive without support of our friends, without support of people who solidarate with Palestine. And at the top of them is SIDI. You are celebrating 40 years of SIDI. The same time, together we are celebrating 25 years of partnership between ACAD and SIDI. we have very deep partnership. It's not matter of business. It's not matter of financing. It's matter of solidarity. It's matter of friends coming to help you when you need that. SIDI has blueprint on the most important period of ACAD life. The first strategic business plan done for ACAD was in support of SIDI, and it was the first strategic plan. The first loan even ACAD received was from SIDI. When we had the second intifada in 2000, and our loan portfolio deteriorated and the risk was very high, our friend from SIDI came and worked with us to build credit guarantee scheme, which now is very, very high needed to cope with the result of Gaza war. It is very important mechanism. When ACAD decided to transform in 2014 to regulated microfinance, we found SIDI with us. They helped us, they provide us technical assistance. Even they mobilized international investors to participate with ACAD Finance Equity and to enable ACAD to be transformed to regulated microfinance. It is a unique partnership beyond the business. It's solidarity, it's a humanity. It's that stand with you in very difficult situation, enable you to provide services to needed people in wartime, in intifada time, in suicide time, and this is the important. Within 25 years, in very difficult, high-risk period, SIDI people were with us in Palestine, discussing with us what help we need, moving with us among through geographical area, even the risk is very high. I congratulate you for the anniversary and 40 years, and I hope that SIDI remain on the same path for the coming 40 years. Of course, I will not leave to see how SIDI will be after 40 years, but I trust that should be and will be a very trusted, huge solidarity investment financing organization. Never we felt that when we are dealing with SIDI that we are dealing with bankers or we are dealing with businessmen. No, we always were feeling that we are dealing with people with very high humanity sense. People are motivated to support marginalized in the South. And this is example of long-term partnership. We are sharing together the social mission. We are sharing the social objectives. Sometimes we were discussing a lot together. Sometimes, like a friend, we agree, disagree about, and it is partnership. SIDI is at the top of our partners, and we hope will continue for the coming period. Thanks, and thanks, and also again congratulate. We would like to be with you, actually, physically, and celebrate this event But as my colleague Adnan mentioned, situation is difficult. Regarding Gaza, we have 2 offices in Gaza. Both of them have been destroyed. Last week we missed contact with our staff. We are not able to contact them. We don't know where they are. Did they lift their area to south area and you know that internet and telephone is not available. So we wait, we hope there is a ceasefire enable us to contact them at least to be sure that they are and their family life. Thank you and wish you celebrating a success.
Thank you so much, Samir. I don't know what time it is. Can somebody tell me? Because yeah. I was just wondering, maybe Adnan, a last word from you, because we had planned 20 minutes. I don't know if Adnan is still there. Samir, is he next to you? Maybe a last word on the immediate future. We understood there is quite a lot of destruction of capital in Gaza, but maybe also elsewhere, and that there is need for this guarantee fund and all that. I don't know if that is a subject. Otherwise we're going to close now, I think.
Let's move on to the break in the room behind us, behind the wooden panel over there. The whole SIDI team is here, the limited partnership, the managers. If you have anything you want to ask, if you want to discuss anything, Christian Smith can also talk about Palestine is here. Do not hesitate to ask a question. Feel free to approach them. We'll be back around 10 till.
Je vous passe la parole. Le temps long, c'est quelque chose qui donc comprend.
UCLS is a traditional partner of SIDI. I think for more than 10 years we've been working with UCLS. We've been supporting UCLS for 10 years. So perhaps you could talk a little bit about this producer cooperative in Madagascar and why it is different from the other organizations that produce cacao in Madagascar. Perhaps you can talk about how SIDI has supported your members. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Perhaps you know a little bit about the story of the Phoenix. Well, the story of the Phoenix was also our experience. We had small-scale producers who wanted to sell their cacao. They were selling their cacao at very low prices. In Madagascar, people either work in cooperatives or associations, or they work for big companies, big colonial companies, which have plantations and which produce cacao beans. In 2006, these small-scale producers wanted to look for other markets to sell their products at higher prices, more decent prices. Now, in 2009, conditions started to get better thanks to Etikable. UCLS formed a partnership with Etikable, and from there, small-scale producers started selling their produce at higher prices, and they started to export their produce in 2010. Then there were 19 cooperatives who then formed the UCLS, and then in 2013, SIDI started to work with UCLS. We managed to double our exports in 2013. We started to export to 2 continents, 40 countries. And in 2019, 2020, 2021, we started to export on a new scale. Now we have 22 local cooperatives, and we support more than 2,000 families. We have technical staff. We have 42 employees, and they are all on fixed-term contracts. And these families, these people, they depend on UCLS to live. So we are continuing to export on a large scale. And that has an impact, not just an economic impact, but also a social and environmental impact as well. Yes, so you helped to strengthen this organization. You said that the organization grew quite quickly. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about your trajectory. Yes. Well, SIDI has a very innovative project. SIDI has exactly what we need. SIDI has established a financial management unit within UCLS. So we're talking here about budget controls, etc., etc. We've also started to implement indicators for financial controls, and that has had a really positive impact on UCLS, on our management. Particularly, it's helped us to manage cash flows. It's helped us to manage our stocks, our supplies. The impact has been really positive. We've actually been able to implement health insurances. So we've been able to fund medical consultations, diagnoses, medical operations. Quite often, our small-scale producers live in very rural, isolated areas, but they now have health insurance. They now have access to health insurance. Also, most of the children of these small-scale producers go to school and university thanks to this project. Great. So we see the real value of helping small-scale producers to access health insurance. That's fantastic. And perhaps I could also ask you about the way, or perhaps we can come to César rather. How does Norandino mobilize their members? And you say that Norandino belongs to their members. How would you describe this?
Norandino is in the north of Peru, next to Ecuador. It's very small production, on average 1.5 or 2 hectares, and it's usually family-run businesses. How do we sell our production? Well, we manage because we work together. It's been 28 years. Now we're at 7,000 from 200 at the beginning, 7,000 members. And we wanted to better our production and find a market for our coffee. In my region, my small village, everything is based on small business, small farming. The main preoccupation is where do you sell and for what price. That is the one preoccupation, and I think it's the same here in France in another dimension, another scale. But our producers, they are looking for a fair price because they have children to feed. They have to pay for housing. They have to pay for healthcare. You know, in our country, we don't have guaranteed free healthcare for everyone like here. So we have to find a market. We have to find a fair price, and that's why we created Norandino, to find a market. And I am delighted to be here on this round table because there is Etikable here. And before Etikable existed even, I used to say we have to fight so that small producers can live with dignity from their land. And that's why we have to find a fair price, and that's what Etikable is about. And Norandino has customers everywhere now. But the main customer that we have is Etikable. Etikable is also introducing us to other actors, and they're guaranteeing our quality. They find new buyers for us in the US, in Germany, in the Netherlands. We have a small plant. We used to have a small plant. Now it's a big plant for processing 10% of the production. And the producers, they say, well, we are also looking for a sugarcane market. And we're looking for producers for alcohol made out of sugarcane. The producers, that's how they managed to start off a sugarcane production, a local sugarcane production. You mean that's what the producers were asking for? Yes, exactly. They say, we have sugarcane, we have to find a market. Norandino is a tool. It's an umbrella for the producer to avoid lower prices, to find the right market, and to support a long-term relation. César, you said that you were the only agronomist at the start. Norandino changed over 28 years. We've worked a lot and we've gotten better to better people's personal situation. If we have good prices, if we have an access to the market, if producers know that the cooperative is going to find the market and pay the fair price, then we produce better. And we improve productivity through that insurance. Double productivity, yes, but the fair price needs to be there as well. What does that mean? Well, we need to improve the quality of the land. And the producers know that they live better when the land is of good quality. It's already 28 years of organic production certification. What is that, organic production? It means that we plant trees and we don't use chemical inputs, and we give life back to earth. And if you give this livelihood to the earth, it gives you back. And the producer knows what is important in in rural areas. What's most important for them is educating their children, just like you. That's what's important for rural producers. I started as a technician, and we're talking about improving quality, improving production, increasing productivity. And I was the only one that had a diploma, but now there are so many people that do. So in 28 years, Norandino, what we have achieved, when I'm asked what we have achieved, I answer we've achieved education. Children who start working when they've received their education, and then they can send the money back to their parents. And they start refurbishing their houses. They have better quality of life. That's how producers are more relaxed about the future. 2 months ago, I came back to the village where I started. And there used to be not a lot of trees back then, but now there's woods everywhere, thanks to the organic production, the shift to organic production, because the producers learned how to protect the environment. That's what we do with our cooperative. The solidarity-based financing and the money that we receive from SIDI, for example, when we receive that as an organization, we're able to help families we invest so that producers can buy food, school equipments, so that they don't have to sell their yields immediately. Because if they have to sell immediately, then they sell it for cheap, and they sell 30% less than they would. So that's why it is key that we have the funds for the cooperative. Otherwise, these people lose money, and we want them to value their production. What you mean is the loans that they receive, right? That's what allows the producers to have some money on hand to use their time efficiently, more efficiently, to have trust in the long term, and to create added value, to diversify added value creation through other means, not only production. Yes, exactly. For example, the sugarcane production, you need a small plant for producing artisanal sugar. Now, in Colombia, they're a little bit more advanced than we are. They produce the way they produce is called panela in Spanish. That's the way they implement their plant. And we have 60 of them now, 60 plants with small production of artisanal sugar. How is it even possible for a region that's known for producing alcohol, that don't really have the same level of hygiene standards, and now they're able to produce high quality sugar with high standards? And it's done directly into the plant, into our plant. And thanks to our relationship with Eticable, it is in the supermarket in France, in Italy. So the producers, they're able to produce quality products if they receive a fair price. In each and every small plant, we work a lot, and there are about 15 people per plant that are sons and daughters of producers. Thousands of people who get jobs in the rural areas. Creating added value, it also means sharing added value here. That's what Norandino does, right? And other actors. What do you think, Christophe? This question of sharing the added value with producers, that's what Etikable is all about, right? Indeed. The raison d'être of Etikable is fair trade. That's what we wanted when we were founded. Fair trade, it's a transversal topic here today. That's the first thing that we have in mind when we think about Etikable. It's a choice. We are a company of social and solidarity economy. You know that capital is not necessarily easy to make benefits from, but we created scopes 20 years ago to have long-term investments, and we accepted not to have immediate added value and to not necessarily have added value over one lifetime. So that's a tool that's long-term and that can be transmitted from generation to generation. So we deal with coffee, with chocolate, with tea, juices. Chocolate amounts to 50% of our sales in supermarkets. What is your turnout? Is 75 million and over 100 employees, 140 participants and shareholders and other shareholders from the outside. Some participants that I've met today who have shares. We have 160 employees there. We have, among them, we have 50 salesmen and women, and we also have people in the shops. And finally, agronomists. I'm an agronomist, for example. I used to work in NGOs. I worked a lot in Latin America. And we want to work closely with cooperatives. I have a colleague in Madagascar, but also in Peru. And we follow closely these projects with 90% of our profit dedicated to cooperatives. One of your projects, Christophe, is about added value. You finance big production plants, processed products, processed cacao beans. And so it's very helpful in countries that rely on this cacao economy. What are your goals and challenges in that aspect? Yeah, we used to buy cacao and then we would process it in another plant, but we created our own plant, and so we can manage it. We make chocolate with cacao, so we process it. And both projects were created with Norandino together. Norandino created its processing unit, its own processing unit. And we make a lot of chocolate locally, and we managed to transport these transformed products, these processed products, more easily because we make them less heavy to transport. Now, we talked about fair trade. We want fair trade to be extremely strict, and that way we have a fair price for producers. Cacao is too cheap nowadays. That means that producers are being exploited, children are being exploited, soils are being polluted, deforestation, etc. And in this market, it's just low prices. 2017, we went from $3,000 for a ton to $1,000. That is much, much too low. All the studies point to that being too low. Fair trade is having trouble to sell because of that. So that's why we decided to block the prices between $30,000 and $40,000 for a ton. That allows producers to have fair income, and we contribute to local development, of course, as you can imagine. Fair trade allows you to get cheaper prices when we sell our chocolate bars, $2.30, $2.40 for a chocolate bar here, and they have a pure and fair origin. They come from that one cooperative. Cacao, just like wine, comes from the land. So we have the organic side of that and some sort of nobility with different tastes. Madagascar cacao has an acid undertone, more intense from Latin America. In Norandino cacao, for example, we have these red fruit undertones. So that's the added value of rural workers who do quality work. They have ancestral, traditional methods that they use. So you transfer this value to the producer thanks to this quality standard. Thank you for your testimony. Let's go around the table again about your relation with the SIDI.
Well, I'm really glad you asked this question. In 2007, or rather before that, we felt a real need to be in contact with the National Bank. We really wanted to get in contact with the National Bank of Côte d'Ivoire. They didn't want to lend us any money at the time because they thought that it was a business that was difficult to manage, that it was very volatile, and we were struggling to convince them to give us money. It was very difficult. Even when we did manage to convince them, the demands were very high. There were certain demands in terms of deposits. But with SIDI, they merely asked us to organize this cooperative. And then after that, it was very well organized. So we started with SIDI. We started working with SIDI, and very quickly we managed to ensure the producers' income. We managed to quickly pay for the cacao beans that we were selling to our partners. Often the producers would give us the cacao beans, and then we would send them to the processors. Sometimes that would take around 2 weeks. So this whole process would take us around 2 weeks. Now, when we started working with SIDI, that all improved. And again, I'd like to thank Dominique. I think everyone's been thanking Dominique. I think Dominique was brilliant. He was really brilliant with our cooperative. He made things a lot easier. He got us in touch with people who trusted us and who gave us money. Now, they agreed to lend money. They agreed to lend us money. But SIDI wasn't just about lending us money. SIDI also supported us. So they didn't just lend us money, they supported us. They helped us to organize our accounts, put our accounts in order. They worked a lot with us on this. They helped us to put in place Excel sheets. And that completely revolutionized our ways of working. Now, the banks that didn't want to work with us suddenly started to call us. They started asking, what's happening? Why are you getting money from outside? Why aren't you asking us for money? Why are you getting money from someone else, from SIDI? Everything was really well organized, and the cooperative started to grow thanks to SIDI. It grew in number, in volume. We had, at the time, we only had one processor. Beforehand, we were very dependent on these processors, on these farmers. They were the ones who made all of the decisions. They decided on the price, etc., etc. But then when we got funding from SIDI, that changed. Now we work with 4 big farmers and 3 big chocolatiers. Nowadays, people want to work with us. Yes. Perhaps you got better at negotiating as well. Perhaps because you were... Perhaps in the past, you found it more difficult to negotiate because you were not on an equal footing, a level footing. But now perhaps you've got better at that, thanks to SIDI. Now I know that you're working on diversification, right? And perhaps just one more thing. You said that you produce 8,000 tons a year, and you only have one financial backer. Yes, we have one financial backer, and we produce 8,000 tons a year. We have several lenders as well. We like how SIDI works. We like their ethics. We like the fact that SIDI is all about sharing, and that's what we're looking for. That's what we wanted when we set up our cooperative. Now, just before, you were talking about added value. When we sell cocoa beans to our producers, we only receive the price fixed by the state. For 3 years now, we've been changing things. We also have started producing soap, not just cacao. We started asking ourselves, now what is it that can start working and producing effects right now in our communities? And the answer was soap. So we started producing soap, and that worked really well. Now the cooperative and producers have started to gain in trust. As well as funding, SIDI has put us in contact with other organizations which have supported us. They've supported us with regards to marketing, with regards to ways of producing. They've helped us to access soap markets, chocolate markets. So they trust us more now. We don't just sell cacao beans, we also sell soap, and that gives us added value. We've been able to access new markets. For 6 months now, The demand has been so great that we've been thinking, well, perhaps we can do this on a bigger scale. Nowadays, people in this sub-region want to eat chocolate, and the demand has been growing. The demand is so great. We produce artisanal chocolate, homemade chocolate, so to speak. Now we have 60 women who basically process the beans, and they make cacao butter, and they use that to make soap. Now the work here is very difficult. To make chocolate, we have several machines. And our partners are helping us. Basically, there are 3,000 members, but there are 582 women who are now producers, who are members of our cooperative. We want to improve their living conditions. That's our goal. We want to improve their living conditions. We don't just want to diversify our production. We also want to change things with regards to chocolate processing. We've also employed more than 80 young people, and they now have the chance to come to Europe to study and work. Why? Well, it's because of cacao production. They have degrees now. In Abidjan, it's quite difficult to find a job, but thanks to chocolate processing, we've been able to help these young people. Yes, so obviously there is a local market there, and I think that you should talk to Joanne Poncher about this. Perhaps, Johnny, we can come to you now. UCLS has been working with SIDI for a long time now. Do you think that you could also access other financial backers? Thank you. First of all, I would like to pass on the greetings of the members of our cooperative. They'd like to wish you a happy birthday as well. So, congratulations. So, our members want to wish you a happy birthday. And they would like to say that for their 40th anniversary, they'd like to invite you to celebrate their 40th anniversary, the 40th anniversary of the partnership between SIDI and UCLS. So, long live SIDI. I'm sure that SIDI will be around for a very long time, and we'd like to invite you to celebrate the anniversary of our partnership at some point with SIDI. So, we've been partners for 10 years so far. Now we have storage shops which can contain a lot of cacao beans. They have a lot of capacity. So we have a lot of these shops set up throughout the cooperative. We also have a lot of sophisticated material, a lot more sophisticated material than other cooperatives in Madagascar. It is said that we are the only cooperative that has lasted. We've lasted for quite some time. A lot of other cooperatives have come and gone. We've stayed. We have other partners as well as SIDI. other partners working on the carbon footprint, nature restoration, etc. They started a pilot project, actually, and they've given us 15,000 plants as well within the context of this pilot project. Next year, there is a project that will include 200,000 plants. Madagascar is part of a project aiming at restoring nature that has been destroyed. And we are part of this. Through our partnership with SIDI, we've been able to work on our exports as well. SIDI has helped us with all of these activities. Yes, it seems that this long-term relationship has really helped UCLS to bloom. Now, Cesar, I think your relationship has been a bit more recent, hasn't it? Your experiences have been a bit more recent. Yes, indeed. A lot of producers are coming to Norandino to look for new markets. We don't have enough money to give them, to lend them. That is why we started this partnership with SIDI. We said, well, Norandino is the tool. It is a tool for producers. It's a tool that brings producers together. And so SIDI then started supporting us. They started supporting the development of Norandino. Now, with regards to coffee production, when you do the processing, you get a film, a sort of powder that comes from the coffee beans. That's how we do the processing. We've put in place a processing system that is quite expensive. We've spent our money, our working capital on this. And so they gave us money to get our money back. We also bought some land because we don't have enough to store all of the cacao and the coffee that we have. And we had to use our own money as well. For us, all of this is really important. The fact that SIDI has helped us with this is really important. They've helped us to grow, to develop. Now, I'd like to talk also about our experience with sugar production. Now, we were in contact with Etikable, and Etikable said, well, there were producers like you who have had similar experiences. And they have a technical team which is very competent. Now, there are a lot of producers who can share their experiences and good practices, and that's really important. The idea is to learn, to share our knowledge, and that happens thanks to SIDI. Yes, indeed, and that is at the heart of your success. It is through Etikable that Norandino got in contact with SIDI. And SIDI is very, very proud of the funding provided to Norandino. Yes. Christophe was saying that the turnover is at 75 million euros. And with us, Etikable makes 4 million. So we are an important partner. We have a significant presence on the French market. So it's normal for us then to have a relationship with SIDI. It's quite understandable. So that was how we got to know SIDI. So yes, we see the added value of this relationship with Etikable. Christophe, I'll give you the floor now. Because there were discussions relating to a more structural partnership. Can you talk a little bit about this more structural partnership? Yes, of course. We started with our first partners around 10 years ago in Ecuador, Peru, Madagascar, in Haiti as well. So here we're talking about pre-funding. So we're talking about local loans that allow people to collect cacao in order to then export the cacao. The guarantees are on a fair market basis, fair trade basis rather. So we have a mechanism which is used by SIDI's partners elsewhere in the world as well. We've been working with around 100 cooperatives, sometimes cooperatives which are more structured, like Norandino. We have a producer in the Dominican Republic which produces 15,000 tons of cacao every year. So the idea is to request loans from different institutions. And we also work with smaller cooperatives that are just starting out, that are working in more difficult contexts. Think about Haiti, think about Madagascar. These situations are perhaps more difficult. So there are cooperatives that we've been supporting since the beginning. And here the relationship with SIDI has been really important. SIDI is very different to other solidarity financing institutions. The mission is about development. So the idea is to take risks to help these cooperatives. So that's what we have been doing now. Basically, sometimes we create funds and we work hand in hand to support these cooperatives. Also, beyond funding access, what is important for us who are purchasers and who support these people, we can't necessarily support cooperatives with funding. We don't have this privileged, intimate relationship. But SIDI does a lot of due diligence. And that's really important for cooperatives as well. They provide experts, accountants, who then support these cooperatives. Johnny was talking about this earlier. These people help these people to lower their costs. And that's really important. It's really useful. For us, it's important that the cooperatives do the work as well. This is not just about pre-funding. This is also about education as well. Often SIDI becomes the first bank that these cooperatives are in contact with. And we would really like to congratulate SIDI for this work, because SIDI helps these cooperatives to become more formal in the way that they manage their accounting and the way that they manage their business. Thank you very much, Christophe. Now, unfortunately, all of our time has gone, so we can close on a very positive note, and I'd like to thank all of you for talking about your experiences, and bravo for the work that you do in your various organizations. And I think I'll give the floor back to Nicolaas. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Merci beaucoup aux participantes et participants. Ça, c'est quand même une deuxième table ronde.
Thank you for being here, everyone. We're moving slowly to our conclusion. I am very proud to see that all of these partners testified. If you think about the Jacques, the agricultural Christian youth in the 50s, many people know it here. We said a farmer who is standing has its own destiny in their hands. And I believe that that's a very accurate statement, and we can see it today. Frédéric Tiberghien, who is the president of FAIR, who's another crucial player in terms of social and fair finance. We saw him, he was taking notes this afternoon on everything that's been said. It's not easy to conclude, but we are going to listen to you very closely. You have the floor. Thank you so much for the floor and for inviting me. I am delighted to be here today, especially because CCFD Terre Solidaire was one of the founders of Financeurs in 1995. The president is here today. He should have been the one concluding today. He knows all about this. He knows about the SIDI better than me. I am also delighted to be here because this 40 years anniversary is a great occasion to celebrate and to see that we've made the right choices so far. It is also a great occasion to take stock of the 40 years that just went by and to get an outlook into the future. It is all about maturity. And I think we've seen that in the debates today. Now, we can be proud of our accomplishments. I've seen some financial accomplishments that I want to talk about tonight. The Centenary Bank in Uganda, the second bank in the country, that is something, that is really something. And John Ddumba reminded us that SIDI helped with the transformation and making this institution visible, and that's also an accomplishment for SIDI, I believe. The FEFISOL fund that was created, another accomplishment that finances agricultural cooperatives that we just mentioned in this round table, and between 2021 and 2022, the cooperative credit that Danny Maclouf mentioned. So many accomplishments, and I believe that SIDI needs to be congratulated, as well as all the partners, so many accomplishments. Now, a second point. It is, after all, a birthday, and we should turn back to the founder, the creator of the institution. Have we been up to their expectations? And I've listened very accurately to what Sylvie Bukhari de Pontual, the president of CCFD Terre Solidaire, said. She said 4 things were expected when SIDI was created. First of all, promotion of an inclusive finance and an inclusive economy within the context of the apartheid in South Africa back then, to develop solidarity in the economy and levers to support the emerging fair finance back then. Second point, giving access to finance to those who are the most vulnerable and excluded, accessing credits, accessing loans. And what was expected from SIDI was also this idea of embodying the solidarity-based finance, and SIDI was up to that because, as we've said today, solidarity-based finance was not born with Finansol. It was a civil society initiative, and if you have seen the booklet, don't forget about the booklet when you go, if you haven't read it yet, because it tells you all about that. So I would say that SIDI is specific and unique in 4 ways. First of all, SIDI invests in at-risk geographical areas such as the Middle East, the Sahel, Sub-Saharan Africa, and invests in countries where investors usually don't go. We're interested in rural areas, with 2/3 of SIDI's investments in rural areas. And SIDI is an investor that is a patient investor, saying that yields are about long term. Last aspect, a more recent one, is taking into account environmental issues, environmental but also social issues. Unfortunately, in politics, some people oppose social issues and environmental issues, and that's only bringing up conflict. So we believe that they're intertwined. For 40 years, SIDI has been up to the founders' expectations very, very well. So I can only also congratulate and thank you, just like the president of CCFD Solidaire did at the beginning of this conference. Solidarity-based finance is central for SIDI, of course, and I believe that SIDI used solidarity-based finance to raise capital in the North and help the global South. It is a strategic vision that I believe that the North cannot build their own prosperity without taking the South into account. That is a strategic vision, and the North, the global North, cannot be happy on their own. CCFD is very, very correct in focusing on that partnership. It is a financial transfer, and it is a very interesting one. The first and foremost idea is to raise capital in the North to finance projects that have an impact socially and environmentally in the global South. That's what's smart about what you did. It is a fundamental point. You know, when you think about asking for donation and subventions, that's one thing. But to get out of poverty, what you need is investment, is jobs, is production, is economic activity. So financial fair finance is all about that. And I believe that SIDI used solidarity-based finance very well for that. There are solidarity-based products, investment products and share products. You've gone back on the history of FCP, Fin and Développement. That is the first product in 1983 was created, one of the first financial solidarity-based financial product. SIDI created one of the first, the most novel product. It is a great asset. And thanks to this product, you finance helping the projects locally. Now, 27 million since its creation. That's an impressive number. You know, 27 million, it is a considerable amount in the long term. This first financial product was a really brilliant idea. Other financial products, there's also investment financial products, using all types of financing means, capital, loans, guarantee funds, that I also want to focus on a bit later on. I believe that you have used microcredit very, very well. It is a technique that was born in the Global South and was exported all over the world. Another component from Solidarity Finance was raising capital in the North. And that's a very sophisticated approach that you employed with 3 categories of investors in SIDI. Social investors, congregations, religious congregations, and CCFD, that was the first one. Geneviève, Guenard, and the president both reminded the role they had long term. Second category, institutional investors with funds coming from enterprise, and finally individual investors, thousands that Françoise Michaud talked about earlier today. And the third component of this, it's the legal status that allows for raising capital in different areas, controlling the operative functioning, and that means being a specifically smart and resourceful association, using investments from so many different sources, and that was extremely well made. Fourth aspect that I wanted to mention, there is no solidarity-based finance without sharing added value. That's one of the financial aspects. Everything that we've heard today, they all agree. We need this reputation of this sharing of the added value with fair trade, with sustainable agriculture, with women-led enterprises, family-led businesses, all of this that works. And if it works, it shows that the CD is doing its job properly. That's one of the main components of solidarity-based finance. Fifth aspect, how impactful is it socially? We talked about the Cerise tool. The Cerise tool, with a lot of expertise. And I talked with one of these experts, and he said we didn't want to measure the impact, but rather we want to see the social and environmental effect. Here we talk about impact. Well, it's just a matter of words. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is to see how performant our tools are. Sixth point, and maybe the most important one, I am delighted to have been here for this conference. It's how important help from the investors is all over the project, not only because it's young project, new project. It is a central and key point. And I was struck by what Amourata Maiga said, as well as Samir Barghouti in Palestine. They say what we like from SIDI is when they help us in difficult times. Because in difficult times, that's when investors usually flee. Because when there's a conflict or something like that, then investors don't see any profitable opportunity anymore, so they leave. And that's what SIDI is doing. They stay, and SIDI has understood that there is no solidarity-based finance without helping in difficult time. So that's why this type of finance is resilient, long-term. SIDI follows through with their partners in difficult times. The second round table showed us what this help looks like. So financing, of course, loans are needed, organizing, managing, commercialization, valorization of products, of yields. It also means not being dependent on one exporter and getting help for education and healthcare for the families within the cooperatives. All of these aspects, all of these accomplishments are at the core of what being a solidarity investor means. And something that's in all of the documents, but that I would like to mention anyway, it's a new criteria. It was introduced on the 1st of October. The additionality measure of the investor. It means that the investor knows exactly what they allowed to produce thanks to their investment. They measure the impact, the social impact of their investor. So this idea of measuring exactly what is produced, what result is obtained, that would not have been possible had the investor not intervened. It's a good criteria. It's difficult to measure it, and SIDI does it very well. It's very difficult to document that with testimonies, but these testimonies show us that if SIDI had not been there, none of this would have happened. So that's how important it is. And that's a central point. And I believe that SIDI is very good at this as well. Now, about transparency. Being transparency for the beneficiaries, for the investors. Transparency is crucial. And I believe that SIDI manages to ensure transparency. SIDI is the only shareholders association that I know who does that this well. Now, about using solidarity-based finance tools, I want to repeat what Geneviève Guenard said earlier, because it was a formidable way of putting it. Solidarity-based finance has always been relevant, and it will never not be relevant.
Also, how does SIDI contribute to the development of the Global South? Now, the goal is to raise capital in the North to invest in the Global South. How does it contribute to the development in the Global South? Well, I think it is good to opt for the solidarity-based economy because in this economy we find democratic governance, we find collective property, we find collective governance, and we find learning as well. Learning to participate in the life of a collective. We find all of these values in the solidarity-based economy, and this is even more important in the Global South, where, unfortunately, in many regions and countries where you operate, there are a lot of issues. There are failed states, there are authoritarian regimes, there is corruption, there are single-party systems, and so the political environment is very difficult in most of these countries. And here we come back to another crucial issue that is very close to my heart. What is the role of civil society? Solidarity-based financing was born out of a civil society initiative. What is civil society for? What is the purpose? The purpose is to plug the holes left by the state, plug the holes left by private initiatives, the private sector, and to go where others do not go. The goal is to learn about responsibility. The goal is to learn how to act within a collective. So everything that SIDI does contributes to strengthening civil society in the Global South. It creates these collective organizations and it gives them the tools that are to be found in the solidarity economy. What are these tools? Well, this is about empowerment. So this is all about empowering citizens, making them resilient in the face of crises, improving their standard of living, and creating an inclusive economy. So, in other words, strengthening civil society is absolutely crucial, and everything that you're doing is contributing to this. You're contributing to creating a better balance in these states, which are often poorly managed and which are falling apart. So here we see how smart solidarity-based financing is. This is about leveraging capital in the north to invest it in the Global South. It's about strengthening the role of civil society in order to stabilize these societies, which are often a lot more unstable than ours. And that allows us to fight against poverty, exclusion, marginalization in all its different forms through the strengthening of civil society. So here we have an economic project, a social project, an educational project, a people-centric project rather, etc., etc. You've also found a method that has no comparison, and today we've been celebrating partnerships after all. Indeed, obviously the Global North shouldn't be explaining to the Global South what they should be doing and how they should be going about this. No, this is about partnerships. It is about civil society. We want to support and help the Global South. We want to support these partners. We have 120 partners in many different countries. That's impressive. We have partners who cover lots of different sectors. And this afternoon we've heard some sensational speeches about proximity, how important it is to be close to the recipients, etc., etc. Then we've also heard from Ecofin and Crédit Coopératif. We've seen how this partnership method is all about the local partners. So I think SIDI has found the right method here. Now, this method is to be found in many different sectors. I've only noted down 3 or 4, but there are many others as well, and they are very illustrative. For example, we have the transition program, the transition program in Burkina Faso, the transition towards a local agroecology. Then there's also the support for agricultural cooperatives that we saw in the second round table, the support that we see in the Côte d'Ivoire, and we see how that has helped to solve land right issues with landowners in the Côte d'Ivoire. We've also heard about the agreements with Etikable in order to upgrade the production and commercialize it. We've also heard from our partner in Madagascar, the support to help manage stocks, Our colleagues have talked about how difficult it is to find the right price, to then invest in agroecology, how difficult it is to educate one's children, how difficult it is to repair one's house. And this is where SIDI comes in. And we also have a lot of activities relating to the climate as well. So finally, I'd just like to come to my two last points. First of all, unfortunately, since 2012 now, we've been living in a more and more chaotic world. Think about Ukraine, Palestine. These recent events have just confirmed the general trend. So we're entering a more and more chaotic phase. We're seeing an increase in risks. We're seeing rising risks. There's a real need to cover risks. We needed to strengthen our partnerships with civil society in order to compensate for these risks and heal the chaos, the growing chaos that we're seeing internationally. Now, we've heard from our Palestinian partners about what's happening there, and that's very significant. So we need resilience in this period of chaos. And I've talked about the role of the solidarity-based economy and solidarity-based financing. That's all about resilience. I've noted down some other points as well about what remains to be done. I've just noted down some ideas, like you probably. First of all, we need to develop guarantee tools. As you have said, these are the most efficient tools. The guarantee tools are the most efficient tools in the context of the solidarity-based economy. So we need to add to the guarantee tools that we already have. Then we need tools to fight climate change. Now we need to continue to invest, obviously. We need to mobilize more resources in the north. Our colleague Mohamed talked about this. So we need to mobilize more individual shareholders. And I think Françoise talked about the potential of shareholders. This potential is still considerable. So you have good performance indicators here. You can make this more visible. It's in your interest to do so. And then there's a question of funding the environmental transition that has been mentioned. Now, I have a personal agenda as well. We've had some conversations with ESD, which became a member of FAIR 2 or 3 years ago. We want ESD to branch out a little bit. ESD is the only such entity that brings together solidarity motivated shareholders. But they do this beyond the sphere of SIDI. There are shareholders organizations which defend the interests of shareholders in the face of the public authorities. They want shareholders to be better treated. We have NAM, DINOR, a lot of other organizations, for example. But there are no equivalent there's no equivalent in the area of solidarity-based financing. I think that this would be a great service. Sorry to ask you for something on your anniversary, but I think that this would be interesting. It would be interesting to set up such a service. It would be interesting to bring together these individual shareholders. There are more than 100,000 of them in France, but they don't have a representative. They don't have a voice. I know that you've been very innovative. So I think that you should set up such a service. You are well placed to do so. You have a whole history, a whole trajectory behind you. You have legitimacy. In any case, I wish SIDI a long life. Your trajectory has been impressive. And obviously, I'm convinced that SIDI will be around for a very long time. At least I hope so. Thank you.
Merci Frédéric. On a bien fait de vous demander de faire.
Yes, well, I think you've noted everything down. Thank you so much for that. We're moving towards the end now. Before that, we have a few words of conclusion. A conclusion speech given by Joanne Bench, who is the program officer. Joanne, you have the floor. Thank you very much. It's a real honor to be giving the closing speech. And I do this in the name of the whole team. The first thing that I'd like to remind you of is that when we look at SIDI's team, most of the people who are carrying out SIDI's mission now, most of them hadn't even been born when SIDI was set up. So that gives you an idea of how significant SIDI's trajectory is. It's 40 today. Also, 80% of the African population is under the age of 40. So most Africans were not born when SIDI was set up. That also gives you an idea of how long SIDI's trajectory has been. So we're celebrating SIDI's long history today. And we're celebrating its history with SIDI's teams, its partners. One example of all of this was something that happened this Monday. As happens once a month, we held an investment committee meeting. This Monday, we had 3 issues to deal with. First of all, an investment proposition for injecting capital into a microfinance company in Kivu. This group funds women's activities. It's working very well, and we would like to support this company, support their development in rural areas. Then there's another dossier that we were discussing, a Peruvian microfinance company. We are a shareholder in this company, and we have been since 2016. It's quite a big microfinance company. It experienced a lot of difficulties because of COVID and because of the political tensions in Peru at the moment. And they've contacted us. They've requested an increase in capital so that they can relaunch their activities and make their activities more permanent. Then the third dossier, the third issue that we were discussing, was a microfinance company in Lebanon, which has been severely impacted by the economic and socio-political crisis, rather, that Lebanon has been going through. SIDI worked to support this microfinance company. We set up a program in association with ADI, another organization. It's also supported by the French Development Agency and the AXE Foundation. Basically, now they want a loan. They want us to assess that their opportunity of taking out a loan. So we were assessing these 3 examples, these 3 dossiers, and here this gives you an idea of the diversity of what SIDI does, which is at the heart of its DNA. And more than ever, what SIDI does is so relevant in the world of today. All the time, we're getting new requests. And now, I'd like to thank some of our teams. We have SIDI's team based in Paris. Could you stand up, please? Yes, I think they're right at the back there. I would also like to thank our team in Lomé. We have 2 colleagues in Lomé who unfortunately cannot be with us today. They had visa difficulties. I think it's getting even more difficult. I think Europe is becoming more and more isolated from Africa, and that's really a source of sadness for us. But in 2023, we are opening our office in Lomé to get closer to our partners and to limit our carbon footprint. So we have 2 new colleagues who I'm sure you will have the pleasure of meeting on other occasions. And finally, give them a round of applause. And finally, we have our Saluti colleagues. Now, Soluti is based in Kampala. It is SIDI's branch in East Africa. Could you stand up, please? Big round of applause for Soluti. Yes, I just wanted to say as well that we've talked a lot about the Director Generals, but they are not the ones who implement our organization's mission. It's not the operation directors either. It's the people who do all of this groundwork. They are the ones who promote our mission. They are SIDI. As I was saying, we get a lot of requests that are all of our teams deal with, and we need extra resources to deal with these requests. We're just simply getting so many requests every day, and we want to be able to fund these requests. So, of course, we need adapted resources. We need solidarity-based resources, patient resources. These are the resources that we have been using for 40 years now, and that are more relevant than ever in a very unfair, tense and uncertain world. I would also like to mention our new website, which allows you to purchase SIDI shares in just a few clicks. I did this myself a few months ago. I went on the website a few months ago. It's really great, so I would invite you to have a look at our website. That would really help us out a lot. Now, SIDI has decided to continue operating in very difficult areas like the Sahel. We've talked about this with Burkina Faso and Côte d'Ivoire. We also operate in the east of the Congo. We also operate in Palestine. And as I just said, we also operate in Lebanon. We would like to start working again in Haiti. We worked in Haiti in the past. That is possible thanks to the partnership with Etikable. SIDI goes where others do not go. That is our goal. The challenges are enormous. Now, we have a new strategic plan which was approved during the GA last July. And we want to emphasize the development of a climate-based portfolio. And we want to build this with our existing partners. With them, we want to find innovative solutions, and we want to provide them with the technical means to implement these solutions. We've been talking about agroecology, or agroecological credit, rather. For some time now, we've been requesting funds to fund solar pumps in Burkina Faso. Then we also have organic fertilizer production in Burkina Faso or Benin. We also have decarbonized transport with so-called wind coupe containers, which transport cacao from Madagascar directly to Marseille in ships. So these are some ideas. These are some innovative ideas. So I'm just putting these ideas on the table. They are part of this climate-based portfolio. Now, we still have a lot of ideas. We're 40 years old and we have a lot of ideas. We're very motivated. Our partners are coming to us with lots of ideas, and we have a lot of energy. Now, of course, we do laugh a lot in SIDI, but we do go about our work very seriously as well. So once again, I'd like to thank our partners who have placed their trust in SIDI for many years now. We have Professor Ddumba and his organization. They've been placing their trust in us for almost 30 years. I would also like to thank our teams who give so much every day. I would like to thank our volunteers who support our partners. Some of them are present in this room. I'd also like to mention that there are many things that we couldn't do without our volunteers. We also have our institutional partners who have been by our side for many years rather. Crédit Coopératif is one such example, but there are others as well. And finally, I'd like to thank the CCFD Terre, Solidaire, our founder. All of these committed shareholders deserve our thanks. I'd like to thank the Axe Foundation as well. Without you, SIDI would not exist, quite simply. each and everything that you do and have done has contributed to this long history, this long trajectory. There's a Pan-African saying, which is, "We are together." And I'd like to repeat that now. I think it's relevant. Thank you so much for being with us today. And finally, I think it's time to enjoy the cocktail reception. Thank you so much.
J'ai quand même envie de...
Thank you. I'd like to ask the SIDI team to come up to the stage so that we can see them better. We have Joanne, we have everyone. Please come up onto the stage. None of this work would have been done if we didn't have a team. Saluti, can we come? I'd like the Saluti team to come on stage, please. I'd like to see all the teams on stage.
Bien. Même masqué, c'est autorisé.
Even if you are wearing your mask, that's completely fine.
C'était pas pour remplir la salle. Hein? Et donc, ce que je pense qui est important, enfin bon, ils sont là, on va donner une grande round of applause, comme on dit en anglais. C'est bien la jeunesse, non? Hein?
Ah, yes, I see all the young people with us. And it's also important to not forget the volunteers. Without volunteers, we wouldn't exist. Are the SIDI volunteers who are members of the board who are present in the room? No? No one? Ah, come up, come up. You are part of the team as well.
Non, il y a un. Bon, s'il y en a d'autres.
Are there any others?
Il y a Michel. Il est peut-être parti. Il y en a encore deux autres là.
Very often, people who have a lot of experience in this job, who are part of boards, who are doing the groundwork with our limited partner, and it's a lot of stake with them. So it is essential. Now we are actually done. Thanks a lot.
Merci à tous et toutes d'être venus.
Thank you. And I would like to thank the interpreters. 2 people all afternoon. Thank you. And I'd like to thank the technical team. And we could listen to the Palestinian partners. So thank